Hey there creatives, long story short, this is a preview. We're gonna design and animate a few screens from a financial app. And as usual, you know the drill, the file is down in the description, please download it and you can follow along. So let's start. Okay, and starting with these components, we will do an interesting thing. First thing first, let's make a copy of this artboard where I define the grid, and let's put our first element, our logo. It's a logo that I made a long time ago. It's a concept, it's free to use. Put our back, since it's not the main dashboard, the home page, it's let's say some inner pages from the app, but I name it home as a reference, as a starting point. Let's delete this. Select both elements, make sure they're aligned. Let's use 40 pixels to top. Since it's an iPhone 10, we all know the iPhone 10 has the camera front here, and it will be cut. Okay, let's drag our first credit card. Let's use 90 pixels. Any distances, it will work since it's a prototype, and just learn how to animate some things. We have our card. Oops. Let's put our title. Let's make sure it's aligned. Let's see. Let's use 90. Let's use 90 pixels, and between them, let's put 20. From the title to the card, 20 pixels. What we want to add next, it's the dots, the sliding dots, which we want to have them below the card. Let's say 20 pixels also. Great. What we want to add next is the graphic, the chart. Make sure you select all of the elements, hold Alt and drag, make it a copy, a new copy, paste it here. Let's use 20. Great. Let's make sure we have aligned the days of the week in the grid, select them all, and use this distribute horizontally. So far, super simple, super easy. One other thing, make sure to check how I did this graphic, this element. Well, actually, it's just a vector path, as you can see, with some points, and I just drag them randomly. I used a gradient inside, a darkish blue, transitioning to a pink, then to a lighter pink, and in the end to white. And you can see here the opacity that I used and how I achieved this cool gradient. Be free to change the colors if you want. You can also change the gradient from the cards, make them any color you want. Be creative as much as you can. We are still learning. What we want to add to our expenses is our button. We want to have a button here where we can just switch the tabs. Let's say we want to see the expenses weekly or maybe monthly. Oops. But in the monthly button, we don't want to have it selected, and we just want to get rid of the background. select the month, the monthly typo, and make it maybe a light gray. And instead of bold, use it regular. So so far you can just leave it like so. We will get into the button section right away. Just add our components into our artboard. I think the transition component, yeah, let me check. Yeah, make sure they're all selected. Let's have 40 pixels between the days and this component. I think it's okay. Yeah, and one more button. We have different button styles, and let's name this, if you want to view all transactions, but for now we'll not animate this section, the transactions. Make sure the transactions are aligned to the right. Great. Well, for these tabs it's super simple. I just use a rectangle, some icons. Be free to check it how I did it. Check the typography, check the spacing, the colors. Let's make sure we have 20 pixels. Okay, and for this we don't really care the distance between them. Just make sure we have 20 here. Let's use 40. Well, this was super fast, super simple, since the components were already created. I spent a few hours on creating all of them, but we need to save some time and get the transition and the animations done. You can just check them, see how they were done. Icons, colors, typo. Oh, I just made a copy. I don't want to make copy. Okay. Second thing, we want to add our second card. Let's make sure they're properly aligned, and let's use 40 pixels between them. Great. Make sure they're both selected. Group them, Command G, or you can right click and group them. Perfect. Super simple, super fast. Make a new copy of the home. Let's name it card number 2, because in this artboard we will drag the second card into the center of our artboard. Super easy, just simply drag them and that's it. And we want to have a bit more of detail, some organic and smooth transitions. And you want to go on the home, on the second card, slightly rotate it, let's say 10 degrees. And go back on the second artboard, select the first card and rotate it counterclockwise, minus 10 degrees. Great. Let's make sure it's centered, the dots. Yeah, they're all centered. And what we want to do here is just switch, let's see, the distance, 6 pixels, 5. Just move it here, drag this one in the middle, and now we have 6 with 6 and 5. I think we can put it here. Let's make sure. Yeah. Let's delete this value. And we want to have 5 and 5 between them, from the bigger one to the smaller ones. Since in the middle, the radius is much bigger and it's occupying more pixels than the initial position, which was on the left. Great. Now let's add our first interaction. Make sure you select the group cards, link it to the new artboard, and as a trigger, make sure you have it as a drag. Destination, for sure it will be card number 2 artboard. Easing, let's use ease in, ease out, and that's it. Let's make it a try. And look. Super simple effect, which I think everybody will enjoy it. And as you can see, also the bullets are somehow switching place. A bit of orbiting effect, we may say. Great. So far, so cool, so easy. Moving to the next artboard, where we want to animate these graphics, this chart. What we want to do, create a new copy of this artboard, and let's rename it as a slider. Okay, we need to go back to this artboard, and what we want to do here. Oh, switch back to the design tab. Let's get rid of our grid for the moment. Double click. Now we have the points active points, and we can just drag them and they will snap into place when they're perfectly aligned. As you can see, it's snapping. Perfect. You can just drop this also. Select the entire group with a bullet point. Make sure it's pretty much aligned. As a prototype and as a concept, it will work perfectly. Great, we have our flat chart, and what we want to achieve, since we are selecting the new card, the expenses are a bit different. Let's drag the anchor points, change a bit the position, maybe lower this one, and maybe you can just do something like this. To have something different from the beginning. Great. Now, how do we get to this, and to this? By selecting the middle in transitioning artboard, switch to the prototype tab, make sure you have selected the entire artboard by clicking the name, and now just link it to the new artboard. And as a trigger, we want to set it as a time, a delay 0 seconds, destination home slider works, and easing as a bounce, and maybe 0.6 seconds. Let's give it another look. You can see how the graph is flattening itself. Now it's super flat, and when we let the mouse go, it will bounce to the new graph, how we did it here. Let's give it one more try. From the beginning, everything looks good. Super simple effect. Just to understand how to work with vectors and paths, it's super important. I also have some other videos regarding this this subject. When you will know how to work with vectors and paths, you will just start to create more and more amazing things and understand how the vectors work. Great. For now, it's as I planned. Second step, we want to animate the slider. We want to slide a bit down and check how much money did we spend here. And what we want to do is just create a new copy. Slider 2, let's name it graph, or name it with your own wordings. What we want to do here, simply just click and select the blue point and just drag it, let's say, here. Let's make sure we have our bar also there. Decrease the height. And this is a component. I also have other videos regarding components. This is the default state of the component, and this is the hover state of the component. Great. What we want to do now is when we hover and drag the slider, we want to change also the values inside here. Okay, going on this artboard, on the previous one, the slider, make sure you have selected this component, select the instance hover state, double click the component, select this dot, the blue point, switch to prototype and link it to the new artboard, and that's it. Switch back, put it to the default state, and let's give it a try. When you hover, you'll get this value, and I think I didn't put the correct interaction on the hover. Double click, yeah, my mistake. Instead of tap, we want to have it as a drag because we want to drag that slider. One more try. Oh, let's put it back to the default. And now it's going to the final position, but nothing is happening with the values inside that label. No worries. In this graph artboard, switch to the design tab, get inside the component by double clicking. We have another component inside, double click again. We have now just the value selected, double click again, and you will see these list numbers, these values. Just drag them up until, let's say, 99. Let's make sure it's centered, and that's it. And in this artboard, we want to have it as a hover state, the final state. Let's give it one more try. Look how they're changing. Super cool. Okay, now moving to the next artboard, we want to get rid of this label with the values. create a new copy, select this component and put it back to the default state. And we want to transition from this page to this page. Switch to prototype, make sure you have selected the name, link it, interaction, use it as a time, delay 0, let's use 0.2 seconds, no easing. Let's give it a try from the beginning. The bounce effect, let's use the slider and let it go. And yes, we have an issue when we slide, we let it go. It's going back to the original values, which we don't want to do that. Going back to the final artboard on the default state of this component. If you can see here, it's a, let's switch to the layer panel. Double click, you see we have this component, switch to design, and if we increase the opacity, we will see what we have inside. And we want to go into the mask group on the repeat grid and also put it on 99. I think this is it. Now go back, select this component and put it back to 0. And when we check again, it will be just fine. And when you hover, you will see again the value of this position. Super easy, super fast. What we want to do next is, yeah, we want to expand this card and get a, why do we have this one here? From where? I somehow left that layer there. No worries. Oh, I see, I have in everything. Yeah. Let's see if I destroyed anything. No, everything works fine. Perfect. Okay, make a new copy of the final artboard. Let's name it expand, because we want to expand this card and have some options for the card, and I will show you in a second what can we do with it. Let's make a bit of space. And let's quickly discuss about this card especially. I will make a new copy, get inside the group, it's another card here, let me delete it, get inside the group, and you will see a lot of values and layers. Let's work on this one for now. Double click this card, click again. This is another card here. Let's make sure we delete it. I'm sure I left a second card on all of the groups, but it will not affect. But let's make sure we delete it. It's an invisible layer. Card 2. This is useless. Delete it. Delete it. It's just from the process. When I did this initially, I somehow left it there. Okay, all clear. Perfect. Going back here, select the card. As you can see here, we have our card number 2, the group, and at the very bottom we have the rectangle, the base of the card, which we want to expand. I think it's enough. And we want to display our options, which is the pin, the lock, and the copy. I will show you what are those. By selecting all of them, just you start with the pin, lock, and the copy. In the appearance section, increase opacity to 100, and you will see 3 different buttons: the pin security, lock this card, and the copy IBAN. Just place them somewhere here. Let's make sure we have 20 pixels between them. 20, one more. Great. So these are the options. Feel free to change them. Maybe you have want to change the buttons and the options for the card. This is just an example and how to animate it. What we want to display in this card when we expand it, we want to see our CVV number and our valid date of expiration, or how it's named. Oh, this one too. So basically those are the details from the back of your card. This more exactly, this will be also displayed in front, but for security, from what I saw on other applications, they are displaying it afterwards. Let's go maybe 15.9. It's okay. Double click, we need to make a lot of double clicks. Maybe move them a bit down. And what do we want also to change is the entire card number, which we have it here. But since the opacity was 0, we will not, you will not be able to see it. Simple, just drag it above here, make sure they're all aligned, and find here this text spot, hold shift, press the key button, the down key button, move it down and reduce opacity to 0. All these components, the buttons were already grouped into this card, but they were hidden and nobody saw them. I think we're missing the remove. If you click on the remove, put opacity back to 100, we'll have the remove button here. Maybe you want to remove the card. It's also good to have a bit of distance from, since it's an important interaction. When we remove the card, we don't want to have it near to the common options. For example, maybe copy, security. Have it in another place. Great, we have expanded the card. We show all the options. Now what we want to do, go back to the previous artboard, select the card number 2, switch to the prototype tab, link it to the expanded artboard, and we want to set it as a trigger tap, easing, let's use ease in, ease out, easy, ease in out, and maybe 0.6 seconds. Go back again, make sure we have our card number 2 selected, put it back, link it to the previous artboard. Again, trigger is in out 0.6, and let's do a test from the beginning. Sliding, the graph is bouncing, the slider is updating, and we want to get the details. We did a back animation from this when we selected the second card, connected back to the previous artboard, and same interaction step is in out 0.6. And okay, let's quickly discuss a bit on this card. Since it's grouped, let me ungroup it, ungroup, and now we will see every asset that we have inside, and it's hidden. You see we have the buttons stacked there. We have the card number, which is hidden with a 0 opacity. We have the validation date, the security number, which are here, the remove button, and pretty much that's it. We just basically hid some elements inside the card. And this thing is super important to, when you start creating the card, to have it in mind that you want to add some options to it, or any other component which you want to display later on, because when you want to do that in a more advanced step, things will be a bit hard to do, and you need to go back a few steps backwards, and you will just lose precious time in the process. So let's give it one more look, one more try. I think my camera card is full. Yeah, it's full. Everything is working as we wanted to. The slider and the expansion. Wait, and one more cool thing that I want to show you is how I created these buttons, these responsive buttons. Let me just put it here. And if I just want to type here anything, it will automatically adjust and keep the same space between the text and the edges of the button. Let me show you how I did it. Let's ungroup it, since it's a component, it's grouped. This is the text. Now we can say anything, nothing happens. And this is the background. But let me show you how to do it. Let's say we have this button as a sample text, the background. Select them both. Right click, make component. Toggle the padding option, make sure it's active. And now we have a responsive button. This type of button is super used when you're creating design systems or guides or stuff like that. It will help you improve and save some time when you are adding different buttons on your projects. Just create one button and you can just do many buttons as you want. You can also change the color to the background. Let's make a red one. And I messed it up. Make sure do not transform. I messed it up. I messed it up because I didn't left the background as a shape, and I just transform it as a pet. I did use too many clicks on it. Oh, that's a cool color. And now you see, it's still as a shape, not a pet. Now it's a pet because I ruined it again. Now it's okay. Okay, let me just delete it and delete this also. Well, I think this was all for today. I hope that I'm not missing or skipping something. But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe. It's helping me a lot and keeping me motivated to do more videos. And thanks again, and see you next time. Goodbye.